Ready. February market stats. Oh yeah, get my fucking prezi. Hey there. This is, well, man, it is the start to March, right? We are entering into maybe what we could call March Madness. There's so much going on in the greater Edmonton area. I can't really remember this time it felt this hot. Like, I was an agent in markets like 2013, 2014. I was in mortgages back during the boom of 2006 and 2007. And my goodness, we got a lot to talk about today. And I couldn't be more excited because my name is Taylor and I am the team leader at HACK&CO, and we do we're going to break down this market in minutes, but this is our February market stats update, and it's brought to you by Cheryl Wilkes. Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages has worked with so many of our clients. She's behind so many of the 5-star reviews that we're known for. We're really happy to have her here today, and I'm excited to introduce the whole team because we have our whole team here to basically turn these stats. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen the news, but the stats from the Edmonton Real Estate Board were released, and we read them so you don't have to. Because, man, is that boring when you don't get to compare it to the actual experience of helping buyers and sellers in the marketplace. Let's bring in all of our great teammates that are responsible for the 5-star reviews that make us the highest rated and reviewed real estate team in the greater Edmonton area. We have so much to tell you here. Welcome, everybody. Let's go around the room here. We have with us our special guest, Cheryl Wilkes from Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages. And we good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
You too.
We also have Kim Christensen. Kim, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
That's fantastic. You're joining us from out west in Stony Plain there?
I sure am, yeah.
Fantastic. Anthony D'Souza. Big week, Anthony. You were rocking it in multiple offers. How many offers were you up against in the last one?
The last one, 4.
4. So second place, eh?
Yeah.
No. Anthony just won against 4 other offers in multiple offers, and we are using new strategy to help our buyers get to the finish line. We've also got Amy Brown. Amy, how many multiple offers were you in yesterday?
2.
So you were one of 3?
Oh, sorry. I was one of 4.
You were one of 4. And also, nice to be, close, but no cigar.
Nope. This one,
yes.
You won.
You won also?
Yeah.
And Erida, you have been competing in multiple offers, and we've even seen you take offers out of multiple offers with bully offers. We've also got Erida Lenahan. Good to see you this morning.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, and we're all excited to talk about what's been going on in February. There's so much news that has been coming out, and honestly, I think that the biggest question that we get, like, what are the 2 most common questions you guys see as real estate agents?
How's the market?
How's the market, right? And these market stats are one way that we kind of keep the beat. What's the other question that you get regularly?
Is it a buyer or a seller's market?
Okay, who wants to answer that question? Let's dig into months of inventory.
So I would say it's a seller's market right now. I mean, for February, months of inventory is at 2.1. And so that's super exciting. It's the best that I've seen in my real estate career. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting market, especially for this time of year. It's just uncommon to see that.
Wow. So definitely super hot. When we're talking about the relationship of buyers and sellers, we would probably say then that buyers drastically outnumber sellers for certain parts of our market right now. Where do you see we're seeing 2.1 months of inventory. I can't see that in the last 3 months or in recent history. Like, what does that compare when it's like year over year?
Well, from last year, it was at 3.7, and now we're at 2.1.
Okay, I know that numerically that sounds like we're almost twice as hot, but it doesn't feel twice as hot, does it? It feels exponentially hotter. It's like with decibels when you turn them up by 10, but the sound actually got 10 times multiplied. hear the same thing. This market is way different than it was before. And this is something that we really haven't seen in Edmonton for quite some time. And I got to say, the sellers are really excited right now. How many times have you been to market evaluations where people have been surprised about the value of their house? Like, which teammate was telling me this just the other day that somebody thought, yeah, Tony, was that you? Where they thought it was going to be $50,000 less?
Yeah, that's right. They were blown away.
Wow. So that's something that we haven't heard in Edmonton for a long time either, right? Like when people were surprised about the value, that normally was more likely to end in tears than laughter. You know? It's been a hard market for quite a few years. And we really want to unpack that. So Erida, am I hearing you right when you're saying that this is the most substantial sellers market that we've seen in the greater Edmonton area?
Precisely.
So it got to make buyers super nervous. It's got to make sellers super excited. But for general homeowners, congratulations. Somebody in your household just got a job. You know, like the way that you're building equity now when you put out money in the market. We were just unpacking this the other day. Like, think about this. Like, Cheryl, how many people did you help last year that were just trying to get into the market in that like 450 range?
Oh, at least 50% probably of our business was that, dual income earner. They both have good jobs. They want to buy their first home and they really want like the house. Absolutely in that price range. There's tons of them. And let's be honest, like the millennial-ish, we'll call age market is massive in Edmonton and in Alberta. We have a huge group of people that are able to purchase at that age range even, which is unheard of in other provinces, right? You can have a good paying job in Alberta. You can afford to go buy that $400,000 house. And unlike some of the bigger markets, you're not getting a closet or a shoebox for $400,000, right? So
yeah, so those people that are buying in that market, like what is the minimum down payment there?
5% on that.
So $20,000.
Yeah.
So Kim, if you help somebody that maybe Cheryl financed last year and they put $20,000 and bought a $400,000 place in, maybe Sherwood Park, what do you think that same property would be worth this year?
Oh, at least 4.25 now, for sure.
Isn't that crazy that somebody came into real estate last year with a minimum down payment and they very likely doubled their money if they did that common move that I just described? Yeah. What is going on?
We used to have to give them a couple of years to have that much equity. Now they could move this year if they really wanted to.
Yeah, so that's something that has really been changing the landscape, and it's been changing how long property has been available on the market. I'm sure that everybody's feeling a lot of pressure from the day zero stuff, but what's normal for how long a property is staying on the market right now?
For days on market in February, it's gone down all around. So for all types of properties for February, it's gone down quite substantially actually since January. So, for instance, all residential property is now at 47 days.
So it's heading in the right direction. It's getting a little bit tighter as we come into the spring, but I don't know if it really looks like it is, right? Because if you have one of those hot properties like those duplexes or single family, how long are they on the market right now?
For February, single detached homes are 42 days on market, and like duplexes, townhouses was 42 as well.
And am I right in hearing the feedback from all of our teammates that basically those two segments are doing well, but condos are struggling?
Yes.
And so condos are like 50% longer on the market, hey? For average days on market. So it's really skewing the numbers and it's making it look like some of that hot property isn't as hot as it is. And it's also making it look like condos might be better than they are. So very different when we see like those different experiences on the market. Now, I think that the biggest pressure right now is on that first week, right? When property's coming to the market that very first week, that's where all the attention is. Does anybody want to describe what, we're launching some listings this week, right? Yesterday was Monday. So Monday is like that prep day where everything's getting going. And we're doing our listing launch sequence. What is Tuesday? Who's going to find out about these listings that aren't on the market yet on Tuesdays? Our private audience. right? We're going to be sending it out to all the agents that we love and all of the people that hang out with us on social media. And tomorrow is a huge day. Tomorrow's the day that it's coming soon, live on social media. So because we're doing all these announcements, we're running into the same opening weekend that everybody else is, but our opening weekends have been a little bit different, haven't they? These are tactics that we're not seeing everywhere in the marketplace yet, but we're seeing them here. And loading that weekend to get the best results in a market where there is the opportunity for multiple offers, this is really where the play is going right now. Let's talk about like those properties coming new to the market and how fast they're sticking around. Amy, what's like the rotation look like right now when it comes to sales and new listing ratio?
Right now, for every 10 homes that come on the market, about 7.6 are leaving the market with a buyer.
Yeah, so like basically in any given month, you have 10 new opportunities showing up, but 8 are leaving. So there's like a net of 2.
Yeah, which is actually still really exciting because that's an average number. So it's counting absolutely everything. And we just talked about condos and how much they're hurting. And so 7.6 is actually incredibly high if you're considering all of those properties.
Yeah, because only 5 out of the 10 condos that get listed are selling. Meanwhile, 9 out of 10 of the single family are selling, right?
If not more.
And you can't even get 5 dentists to agree on one thing. So like a sales strategy, you know, with 10 home sellers, like you have there's always going to be a somewhat of a failure rate. But we were talking a lot about multiple offers lately, and that's something that is kind of an indicator here. So do you think that this is going to get better or worse for those people that are taking a look at getting into their next place?
I think it's going to get worse for sure.
And you know how we were saying, Kim, that like the people coming in that bought that $400,000 house last year would have to pay $425,000 for the same house if they waited?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cheryl, you were telling us that would also be compounded because like based on how interest rates are changing, like what's it up like per payment? Probably $25 or something like that with just the shift that happened recently.
Yeah. We've literally gone up almost 1% on the fixed rates. So like I guess you could say the election seemed to be the trigger in timing, but pre-election, we were sort of 1.75 to kind of 2% for say a 5-year fixed. Now we're sort of 2 3/4 up to 3%, right? So it's causing what I'm jokingly calling buyer FOMO, right? Everybody's kind of freaking out. They're a little worried they're going to miss a good rate, and then they're a little panicked they're not going to get the house, and it's just sort of causing this weird sort of, you know, I mean, I hate to say it because it kind of sounds like a childish thing, but it is causing that sort of fear of missing out. People are terrified that the house they love is going to be worth $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 3 weeks from now, and the rate's going to go up. So now they're, you know, it's an exponential growth thing, right? So definitely a little more panic, I guess you could say, in chatting with buyers all day, every day.
Absolutely. And I know that we're really not making it better for them because honestly, our listing launch process is pooling buyers into that competitive element. And but that's what you have to do. You have to take so much of the pressure as the seller right now, because that's where the advantage is, to get the right amount of days in order to go shop for a house if you want to sell soon. There's a lot of strategy that has actually changed from when we were in a buyer's market to going over to a seller's market. And even if you were using the game plan that worked 4 months ago, you'd pretty much be kind of cooked now trying to use the same program. So when we take a look at average price, how do you guys think that this is affecting average price? We're talking about a hot market, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely on the rise.
Yeah, it has been on the rise. When we take a look at November, average price in the greater Edmonton area was $384,000. Dipped a little bit in December, but honestly, it's really easy for the market statistics to be affected in December. And that's because they are there's not as many transactions. So things can change. And also it's like a utility period. What we're about to see in the spring is what happens when people choose to enter the market. This is the best time for families to make that change during the summer months. So this is the people that have the choices. And that's why the market's going to change a lot, because it is going to be emotional. It is, can we get that next place, or we wanted to move, or we didn't feel safe moving during COVID. And it has been changing the average price. We saw $381 in December. Now, then it dips again into January, $376. And all residential, then boom, $411 as we go into February. Suddenly, the average single-family detached house in Edmonton is averaging at near 500,000. Condos are continuing to like rally as well. They were down at 217, then up at 224, and now 226. And what I'm seeing, if I'm hearing the feedback from all of our teammates, right, is that it's not all condos. The reason that the average price is probably up is the people being pushed out of the duplex market, right? And what type of condos are they buying? Townhouses. They're buying the closest
townhouses.
Yeah. I think you're bringing a townhouse to the market on the south side here this week, hey Tony?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
right
is that
Millwoods.
something that you expect to catch?
One.
Is that one that you expect to take to catch some of this duplex traffic?
It definitely could. Great neighborhood, recent sales nearby, so we're excited.
That's awesome. So in that, we're also seeing the duplexes. Duplexes, I couldn't believe it. Like when you take a look at their move over the last 3 months, they're bucking the trend. We've been talking about duplexes nonstop. Duplexes have been like the unsung hero of the pandemic. And over the last few months, we're seeing like November, they're at 348. They jump up to 362, 382, and now 374,000 is the average price that February is reporting on duplexes. So for those young families that, maybe were like, oh man, we shouldn't have to share a wall, but they did it anyway. Look at you guys go, right? Probably almost upgrade time for you guys based on how you're building equity. So I love it when people get into the right vehicle that serves their family for the period of time that they own that house, and then they also get the market to really treat them well. So let's get in a little bit to what's hot or what's not. So first off, you're seeing some stuff that's hot that we didn't even know was going to be hot. So I know, Amy, you're already pending over there in Windermere. We got a few other pendings going on things that we were like, you know what? Statistically, the markets didn't necessarily treat this stuff well in the past, but here we are. We're going really well there. Kim, we were talking about friends of yours in like a $2 million property out west of Parkland, and all the folks in luxury real estate have to be super excited about what's been happening over the last year here. Amy, you've been having a lot of those conversations as well. What have you been hearing back from those people that are shopping around in the $1 million to $2 million range?
They're stressed. There's not a lot that's out there. They're worried about pricing. They're worried that if they wait, it's going to go a lot higher.
So that means that if they were to list that property, there's definitely an audience there. So those folks that own those $1 to $2 million properties, if they were wondering how the market would receive or if they would be able to get enough to do whatever they want to do next, I think that the market is that's what you're saying is the market is going to respond to them.
Absolutely.
Where else are you guys seeing those hot spots? Anthony, where's the hottest place you've been in recently? Probably
what you would classify as like a first-time home buyer type of property. So whether it's a front attached garage home in the, low 500s or the mid 400 range with a detached garage, but also what I would classify as starter acreages. So in the, the 4 to 550 range for acreages, if you're not there within the first day or two of it hitting the market, you're likely not going to get a chance to write an offer on it. It's going super quick.
That's fantastic, and really good news for some of our clients that we moved into those acreages. I know when you're describing that show-stopping, mid 400 property, I think Amy, you have one of those in your pocket right now, right?
I absolutely do.
Yeah, that place is going to be beautiful, hey? And inside of 2 weeks, the public market will get to see that.
Former show home, so keep your eyes open.
Yeah, you've already got teammates that are bugging you about that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so we're going to definitely have some day zero showings there. And if you want to know more, you should get in touch with Amy. Is there anything else that we're saying is like a specific hot market? Where are you seeing, Kim? What do you think the hottest thing is where you've been traveling recently with clients?
Those duplexes are still hot. I have some buyers looking at those still. They're still doing really well. Hard to get, not a lot out there for them. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Who can concur with that? Duplexes, tough to find?
Yeah.
How many duplex owners do you think there are that don't know this? Like pretty much all of them, right? If they knew that the average price had changed the way it is, how many of them would reconsider selling or consider selling? I think that that's great information. And some of those people that were thinking maybe not going till next year or the year after, we're going to have Cheryl stick around here afterwards to talk about what that might mean. Because there's going to be some different economic changes that will basically mean what we were talking about earlier. That property you buy today is going to be worth more tomorrow. And this is probably one of those biggest factors when it comes to multiple offers. I just want to decode something that I don't think enough people know right now. What is the cost of losing? So right now, a lot of people are feeling pressure in multiple offers, and the pressure they're feeling is that they don't want to pay too much. But let's say that they don't pay enough to earn that property, and now they're continuing to wait to shop. What do you think that looks like for them when they actually do find the property that they're going to buy?
It's going to cost them more.
Tony says it's going to cost them more. Amy says it's going to cost them more. Who's going to unpack that first?
I will.
Go ahead.
So not only will the home that they're planning on buying is going to cost more, there's a good chance that, if they can't find the right place before their pre-approval expires, they're going to have to qualify at a new rate. Cheryl, our good friend here, will definitely talk about what that looks like, but it's going to impact their mortgage amount, and the price of the house is going to increase. We're seeing it rise quite significantly month over month right now.
Anything to add to that, Amy?
The only thing I was going to say is that people need to pay attention to benchmarking. So these homes are selling in multiple offers. These homes are selling over list. And every time that they do, it's recorded what they sell for. And that is the new starting line.
So basically, if the exact same house was available the day after this one sells, that seller is going to obviously set a higher list price.
Yes.
And so you're going to pay the same for the next one you compete in. But if you end up going past one of these like dates, where all of a sudden your pre-approval ends up being like within 60 days, we start to hustle. Within 30 days, you really have to start considering that the only properties that you may want to choose from to get that rate are vacant, that can do those really quick possessions. In fact, actually, this kind of comes across to some news that hit us from Sean, right, Anthony? One of the lawyers we work with was saying that right now, these vacant properties they're just like really short days on market.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that is the interest rate effect.
It definitely could be.
Cheryl?
Yeah, I absolutely, I would guess so, right? I mean, there's only so quickly that we can grab a live deal, like, it's been negotiated and all that good stuff, get it into the lenders, get it approved. Maybe we need an appraisal depending on down payments, and then get it over to someone like Sean to process, right? Like, it takes a bit of time. So, when we're hitting, like you said, Taylor, that 30 days where they've got that left on that rate that they've got held and the rates have gone up, for some of these people, it's gone up 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 since we did the rate hold in the last 2-3 months. Again, it creates that FOMO moment where people are freaking out, and we're going start to finish in 3 weeks if we need to, just to get that rate in place, right? So
that's fantastic information, and I want to dig into that next. I thank all of the Hack & Company teammates for joining us this morning. Really appreciate you helping us unpack this market, talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the marketplace. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Okay, and we're going to keep Cheryl Wilkes around, but thank you everyone for joining us to talk a little bit about what the market's doing. Now, I'm going to just talk to Cheryl here. This is Cheryl Wilkes Mortgages. She is a mortgage broker local to Edmonton, former champion of the Real Estate Investment Network. Did they just call you champion? I think it was Broker of the Year. But we call her the champion of so many people that do need to get these quick offers in and so on. And if you want more content related to Cheryl or related to the rest of our team, you should check out our social media. We're making great content everywhere great content can be found, including seeing some videos floating around there of Cheryl explaining a lot of the mortgage information that people just need to know. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of extra time with us, Cheryl. Really appreciate it. I get to talk to you as much as I kind of want to. Right? We see each other all the time, and I've always got questions for you about what's going on. But really, when you take a look at the lender landscape right now, what do you want to tell us about entering into this next 90 days?
Really, it's just, I mean, I'm talking to people like we were saying, I mean, talking to people every day, everybody's kind of panicking a little bit. They're all reading rates are going up, and the funny part is that, they're saying, well, I'm reading the rates are going to go up. And I'm like, well, that started last year, actually. Now, it's within reason, though. Like, I mean, we're still getting rates for somebody that's a first-time home buyer. They're 5% down. They want a 5-year fix because they want the stability. That stuff is still under 3%. So for somebody who's been around and kind of been around the market for a little bit, that 3% doesn't scare them, because that's where we were sort of pre-COVID, right? We knew eventually it had to come back around, but that sort of 1.74 that we had last fall for your first-time home buyer, not a thing anymore, unfortunately.
You know how all of us get acclimated by like a certain time? Like a lot of us like will be attached to the music that we went to high school with.
Yep.
Like that's like kind of like sounds familiar to us. And also when real estate and mortgages first came on your radar, whatever age that was is going to be the age that you kind of acclimate to the rates. Just like when you started to drive is your first kind of benchmarks around what gas prices were. So for me, previously being a lender, I remember some of the lending I did on fixed rates was over 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the lending that I did on fixed rates was in the mid 4s. I would say the majority was in the mid 4s. Yeah. And now when you take a look at your last 5 years, like, would you say that the average has been in the 2s?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, we were in low, kind of mid 2s. And then, of course, as everybody knows, the pandemic hit, everything started sliding, and we sat sub 2% for a 5-year fixed for quite a while. And then, like I said, seemed like the election seemed to be the trigger, which generally is a thing for us because they know that policies can change with changes in government. And it's a roller coaster ride for everybody who works in mortgages every kind of, few years when the whole country votes. So it felt like everybody was sort of holding their breath a little bit in terms of our world. And then once the results kind of came out, they all went, okay, fair enough, status quo-ish. And then everything started coming back around again, right? So, it's one of those things where the key thing for people is just to focus on, right now, I'm finding more people are focusing on their budgets because these rates have come up. They have come around. The stress testing hasn't changed. So the actual amount that they qualify for hasn't changed, but your payment on that same property, or as you guys just talked about, that property that's gone up 20 grand or 30 grand since they started last fall or winter. The key right now, a lot of people are focusing on is that actual budget. What am I paying to own that property nowadays? Right? Because that's what shifted so substantially with 1% or even 1% or more change on those fixed rates.
I can understand why people would have to really focus on their budget because everything's so slippery. We used to know what gas would cost and what flour would cost, and all of those prices have changed now, just showing the signs of inflation. And this is another sign of inflation. So I understand that when I say things like rates in mid 4s and rates in around 6, that some people don't believe that. Some people say like, oh, it will never do that because it would kill the real estate market, and real estate markets are what decide what the lending is. So is that right?
Yeah. I remember having a 5.25 and thinking it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread at that point. Like,
yeah, but the scenario that I just depicted, just in case someone is listening and doesn't get the fact that I'm being sarcastic, that's not true at all.
No.
So the real estate market does not dictate the interest rates that are out in the lending market.
No.
And that's one thing that I know that Cheryl and I, because we're buddies, she just laughs and, like, yeah. Like that's what people think, but they're crazy. But I want to clarify here and say that's not true at all. These interest rates are based on things that are much larger than the Canadian real estate market.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the variable rates, that's the one that literally just shifted, as we were all kind of holding our breath waiting for last week to see that it went up by 0.25%. I mean, sure, they know that the variable rate changing and that prime rate changing affects homeowners, but it's inflation based, right? I mean, we're in inflation. Anybody that can look around is seeing it right now in the economy. It's inevitable that was going to change. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've definitely been noting that where they thought we were going to rise this year back in January has definitely shifted due to, I would blanket it as world turmoil right now. So, I mean, things like that play in more than a lot of people even realize on the back end in terms of what happens in our world, right, with rates. But it's inevitable. We had to crawl out of what the landslide brought during COVID, right? They have to come back around again eventually. It's inevitable,
Totally.
right? So we can't sit sub 2% and for forever. It'd be great, but it's not feasible, right? It's not the long term the way it's going to go, right? So
to clarify, you were saying that people are calling you saying that, yeah, I heard rates are going up, and you're like, no, it should just be a rising rate environment. We are in a rising rate environment. We've been in a rising rate environment since last year. So if we're in this rising rate environment, and let's say that I just bought a house 2 years ago and I'm not planning to move until next year, I might want to think again.
Totally. And I've had more phone calls about that actually this year, like in the last couple of months, where, like you said, even if people aren't necessarily yet pulling the trigger and calling their, realtor, calling you guys to get things going and ready, sometimes they're reaching out to me first saying like, hey, we're just sort of thinking about this. And like, what do you think we'd qualify for in terms of like the new property? Because they want to get their head wrapped around, can we take that mortgage with the great rate they got 2 years ago and port it to the next property? How does that work? Just so they can get their head wrapped around it, so that when they're sitting down with one of your folks to say, what's next? How does this work? They at least know what they're looking at in terms of that upgrade. And I mean, we've talked about this multiple times, is that COVID has brought different needs for people. I'm still seeing those popping up. I mean, lots and lots of it last year, of course, but there's people working from home now. They need offices. I moved last year. That was one of the big things for us, right? I'm sitting in it right now, right? We didn't have a home office prior to. People have had kids. We all know that there's a baby boom that came through this. They need more bedrooms. They need a backyard or space. Like, those are still popping up, right? Those people are still looking at where they bought 2 years ago and going, well, shoot, we thought we were good for 3 to 5 and now we're not. Like we joke, everybody got a dog or an air fryer or a kid or, the inevitable things that came through COVID are now affecting housing, right? Like,
totally. So for me, I want to call out to all the people there that were accidental landlords. Like those people that ended up renting out the last house to buy the next house, not because they wanted investment real estate, but just because they needed to move and someone needed to live here so the payments would get made.
Totally.
Those people from 2017, 18, 19, even 20, if it's like, now's the time. When it goes into a seller's market, we're hoping that this is sustainable for as long as you like. But if it's not, then now's the time to reconsider. But there's also going to be some benchmarks like that on your side. 100%. So how long ago did the average person get into their 5-year fix that should call you right now?
So generally I find, and I mean, this is the weirdness with the rate shifts, right? Is even these people, like you're mentioning, like these sort of accident landlords, right? Some of these people, it wasn't even that the property wasn't going to sell. It was the penalty was so gargantuan when the rates were so low 2 years ago that it didn't even make sense to pay that penalty because it was massive. So the lift back around on those rates has made a change in that spread the lenders look at if you were in a fixed rate to say, well, okay, now the spread's not as big as it was where we were, they were comparing like a 2% spread that makes the big penalties. Some of that has come back around again where it's actually feasible now for these people to sell and not cannibalize their profits. It's like a bit of a sort of sweet spot at this point where your penalty's not so bad, your value's probably gone up, and those two combined make it a decent time to sell it, if you know what I mean, right?
Right. So if we were to package that, we would say that if you were terrified about your mortgage penalty in a call you made in the last 3 years, you should call again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're somebody who's like, man, I would move, but my penalty is like $27,000, call again, because your penalty is based on the different, it's called interest rate differential, right? And so the difference there is becoming tighter, and that's going to actually directly be part of the algorithm they use to calculate your penalty. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, the closer the spread is, basically what they do is they do the spread between what they're sort of getting right now in rates versus what you're paying. That's the differential piece. Some lenders do have discounts and things like that that factor in, but generally if that spread is closer, the different spread means that the penalty you pay, because they times it by the amount you have left owing, and then they figure out basically somewhat kind of per month, what's it costing them to let you out of that mortgage? So you're not making, if you've got 12 months left, 12 months worth of mortgage payments on penalty. But if that spread is closer, that penalty is smaller. And we're finding a lot of people are getting that, where they're coming in going, where this was nasty, where their rates were in like mid to high threes because they signed pre-slide, I guess you could say pre-COVID, at that point, they've got a year or two left to go, and they're thinking that they're stuck for another year and a half, but they're watching the media and going, you know what I mean? Maybe we should move now, right? I literally had a client email me yesterday, literally, about it, saying, we thought we were going to wait another year. Maybe let's look at this. Can you check out the penalty? Oh, and by the way, what can we be qualified for, right? So people are assessing things ahead of time.
So those people were a good example of what you should do. And if you're thinking about this, you should check. Absolutely. Now, the other people I want to talk to are the people that are thinking about moving this spring. The big question is why haven't they called their mortgage broker yet? We probably know some things that they don't know about how rate locks work. Can you unpack that for a second?
So generally speaking, rate holds are, it's a common word, obviously. It basically holds the rate for 120 days, right? So whatever the rates are being offered by X number of lenders that we've got access to that will hold rates, we send that in and we say, if you purchase a home in the next 4 months or 120 days, that rate is being held. The beautiful part about being a mortgage broker, though, is that because we have that shop around capability, I joke with people about it, but I'm like, those rate holds can be plan ABC, but they can become plan LMNOP or even XYZ possibly, right? So, for people, it's a peace of mind moment to say, here's your very worst case scenario on what you're paying if you buy something in the next 4 months. As long as you take keys in that 120 days, here's your worst case scenario. We're still in the spring market. There are still lenders notifying us that they've got a special. That's never been a thing that doesn't pop up every spring. We're just seeing less of that fighting for the very lowest bottom rate they can get because everybody is rising. So it's not everybody that's posting crazy specials, but I've had a few where we hold their rate, and then when they actually find a house, this FOMO is causing it. People are not waiting 120 days. They're finding it in like 2 days. And
the moral of the story is that you should have your rate. Because if rates go up, you'll get the better deal. If rates go down, you will get the better deal.
Exactly.
And we're seeing these situations where like missing your rate deadline could mean a % difference to you.
Absolutely.
So the biggest day that matters is the day you lock it in. You want to get that locked in right now. And you want to make sure that you call Cheryl Wilkes. So Cheryl, you've always been a great asset of ours. We always really appreciate everything that you do for us. And so we really appreciate that you came by today to talk a little bit about mortgages. And everybody can easily contact you and find you on all social media.
Yep. I'm trying to be everywhere.
I appreciate everywhere.
Always,
and you're doing a good job. I have to say, as far as mortgage brokers being visible, you have done an amazing job. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invite.
My name is Taylor, and this has been us unpacking the news. This is the news of the Greater Edmonton area marketplace as it's been over the last month. We want to make sure that you know that if you need more information on this, if you want that strategy we were talking about, we call it Listing Launch Week here, where we actually pump up the market for the best opening weekend ever. You're going to see that happen a couple of times this weekend. We got some hot property coming out, and some people are going to know about it today. Lots of people are going to know about it tomorrow. And we're going to load those day zero showings. The other thing that you want is great teams. And we are teaming up not only here to give you the best experience, but with amazing lenders like Cheryl Wilkes. When we write competitive offers with lenders that are game day players, the amount of days they need for financing changes, the way that we can approach deals changes, and this is what winning comes from. So not only do you gain access with HACK&CO when you call our Fast Agent hotline, but you get access to our whole library of experiences that we put up on social media. And you can do this by just calling our Fast Agent hotline at 780-909-6770. So when it comes down to your experience in this uncertain market, Let's save yourself and save your friends from 3-star experiences in real estate with somebody else. I hope that you're doing amazing. Have a remarkable day, and we'll talk soon.